Peace, family. Assalamu alaikum. It's Brother Fahiym back again. This is a new series of lectures that I'm starting. I'm going to be dealing with the lessons. Basically, like I said, whenever I'm, at the kingdom, whenever I'm, at home, and I do a video for you guys, I want to definitely try to keep it scholarly, dealing with the lessons. I'm not even going here, there, and everywhere with it. Today I just want to talk a little bit about our lessons, what we call our 120 lessons as 5%ers in the Nation of Islam. As 5%ers, we get a host of lessons that we have to commit to memory when we first get them so that we can quote back to our enlightener. And once we quote that, of course, this qualifies one now as becoming a student in the 5% Nation. So one of the first things that a student gets is the supreme alphabet and the supreme mathematics, or either the supreme mathematics and the supreme alphabet. I've heard some guards getting them, interchangeably. They may get the alphabet first, they may get the mathematics first. I got my mathematics first, and then I got my alphabet right after, once I knew or learned my alphabet. My mathematics, I'm sorry. But that's the first thing you get, actually. Once this is committed to memory, it basically, the supreme mathematics and the supreme alphabet, the father established those, or the elders established those for us as just a practice to kind of get us, prepared for the actual lessons that we begin our course of study with. The supreme mathematics and the supreme alphabet are basically like a, like I said, it gets one ready. It's like a taste test, if you will, to see what the real lessons are really going to be dealing with. Because a lot of the supreme mathematics and the supreme alphabet are mostly built off of our 120 lessons that we got. So, the supreme mathematics, supreme alphabet, you may hear guards walk around, peace God, what's today's mathematics? At the end of the day, this is just a practice that we do with our new students to just ensure that they've been studying. They've been reading and been studying and trying to commit to memory what we gave them. Because as we know, a child, when a baby's first born, a baby begins to speak words. Mommy, what's that? Daddy, what's that? This is the same thing with a newborn. We want our newborns to begin speaking this language of this culture. Because prior to getting knowledge of self, we talking about money, hoes, clothes, whatever. A whole bunch of frivolous things that have nothing to do with our consciousness, with the rising of our consciousness. So we always want to get the baby or the newborn in the habit of building. Come on, God, let's build. The supreme mathematics and the supreme alphabets, the gods use just like I said, what's today's mathematics? Of course, this is going according to not the Asiatic calendar, which is our calendar, the calendar of the original nation, but the Gregorian calendar, the calendar of Pope Gregory, and, these are European Caesars, if you will, and rulers and monarchs who basically, added days to the calendar, took days away from the calendar. Like, it's not even based on, our calendar's not based on the lunar cycle, or it's they have leap years every 4 years because they have to do this to catch back up, because it's, it's actually not 365 days in a year, actually, a complete 365. So they kind of, that's a whole nother long bill. But we do our supreme alphabets and our supreme mathematics according to today's date on the Gregorian calendar that we have today. Again, it's just a practice to get gods, sharp so that they know them. So after you get your supreme mathematics, and your supreme alphabet, which of course in another video I'm going to be going through. Everything I'm mentioning, by the way, family, I'm going to be going through extensively. I'm going to really exhaust it because I want everything to be, you know, I don't want to leave no stone unturned with this, you know, teaching. So after you get your supreme mathematics and your supreme alphabet, the next step, of course, some guys like me, I got my 12 jewels of Islam. You know, a lot of 5%ers, you know, don't really get the 12 jewels of Islam no more. You know, they get just the supreme mathematics, supreme alphabet, and then they immediately jump to the student enrollment because now you're being enrolled as a student. Once you're enrolled as a student now, a lot of times, like what I would do with my newborns at this point, you know, they're free to go choose a name for themselves. You know, a name from out of the supreme mathematics, a name out of the supreme alphabet, until as they, you know, elevate more and more and more, then, you know, your names will grow, your names will change. Some of the original 5%ers got their names from the Holy Quran, you know, which were the 99 attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, they took their attributes from Allah, the Creator, because, of course, we teach that the black man is Allah. We are gods. So while other brothers may, you know, use the names of Allah, but instead of saying the beneficent, he's the beneficent, or he's the greatest, or he's, you know, the wise, they'll be like, he's the servant of the wise. You know, he's Abdul Hakim, or he's the servant of the merciful. He's Abdul Rahim, you know. But the gods was like, I'm Rahim. I'm Al-Rahim. I'm the merciful, you know. And a lot of people took that as shirk. They're like, no, astaghfirullah. You're not Allah. You know, the Arabs or the African, some of our African brothers and Arab brothers would hear say that and be like, no, astaghfirullah, no. Because, of course, they're taught that God or Allah, God is not a human being. They see Allah most glorified and exalted as some spook or something that the human mind could never conceive, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself doesn't even say that in the Quran. Nowhere in the Quran does it say God is not a man. Just like in the Holy Bible. I show Christians that all the time. Nowhere in that book can you show me that where God says, I am not no human being. That's nowhere in there. You won't find that. It's not in there. But anyway, let's move forward. So we move on to our student enrollment. Once you're now enrolled as a student, you know, and, you know, you get yourself a righteous name, of course, because, you know, we get rid of our slave names. You know, that first name that your mother gave you was is basically what we call your slave name, you know. Once you're enrolled in a student, now this is my FOI manual, or a little book that I compiled years ago, like 12 years ago when I was in federal prison. You know, when I did, you know, of course in there we couldn't have no binders and stuff, so we had to make our little, you know, and this is pretty much all my FOI, you know, study, you know, my little training manual, FOI, you know, from when I'm with the fruit. But in here, I got pretty much all of the original. So I'm going to be quoting from the original lessons from the Nation of Islam that we get when we enter into the mosque. You know, of course, opening and closing prayer, general orders, you know, restrictive laws, aims of Islam. These are all things that the Muslim guards get in the Nation of Islam. But right now we're talking about the 5% Nation of Islam. So as 5%ers, we get that as well, or we're supposed to have that, but it's not one of the foundational things. The foundational teachings, of course, is our student enrollment. Once we're enrolled as a student now, we learn who the original man is in our student enrollment. That's the first question. But wait, before I even get to that, these lessons are called Lost Found Muslim lessons. They're for Muslims that were once lost, and now they've been found by God himself in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, and now they have to elevate back to the position of grandeur, greatness, to the position of, excellence, to the position of being that majestic ruler that they were innately born to be. So in these original lessons or teachings, everything is talking about the original man. I just want to make that clear. I just want to make the tawheed, if you will, or the oneness of God. I want people to understand the oneness first of all. All of these lessons were given by Master Fard Muhammad and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to us in the wilderness of North America. They were Muslim gods. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said it himself. Don't get mad at me. I'm saying what the authors said. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad says in this book right here, in the Theology of Time, he talks about Muslim gods. He mentions a Muslim god. One of the gods he mentioned was Al-Qamar, or the moon god. He mentions him. And he says he was a wise Muslim god. In this book, Message to the Black Man of America, in America, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad first of all starts off telling you in this book that no man on this planet can teach you these teachings that I'm teaching you. Because what he's giving you is divine revelation. Revelation is something that you can't go get from out of no book. Revelation is something that from the Creator himself, the Creator himself would have to reveal to you himself, or a part of himself, that you can take that and now begin to grow. So the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad in this book says Allah himself, the Creator, was a Muslim. The Creator himself. So everything that comes after the Creator, all of his progeny after him are Muslims. Same DNA, same thing. So I just want to make that clear. Our lessons as 5%ers come from Master Fard Muhammad and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and they were both Muslims and they were both gods. Stop. That's it. Let's establish that. Our lessons, our 120 lessons, are for lost, found Negroes, lost, found Muslims. Right now we're niggers, Negroes, we're all those derogatory things, so-called, as the messenger says. But we're really Muslims, and we're really gods, according to our lessons. So the first question is asked in the student enrollment. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad asked such a beautiful question. And the messenger said, if I was, this was in the 60s now, in the early part of the 60s, the messenger said, the late 50s, the messenger once said of these lessons, he said, if I can quote those lessons again, if I could be asked those same questions again by Master Fard Muhammad, he said, the messenger said I could write volumes of books. Just on one question, I could write volumes of books. So in other words, who's the original man? Instead of just saying the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, the father of civilization, the God of the universe, the messenger said, I don't want to hear you keep quoting the way I did when I was a baby. I was only 3 years old in wisdom when I quoted those answers for Master Fard Muhammad, for my teacher. I want you to quote, put it in your vernacular, that new lingo, that new high form of speech or speaking that you do, and enunciating words so beautifully. And I want you to put it in your terminology and give it to the people, express it to the people. Give them what I gave them, but put it in your vernacular. Use your lingo on it, and make it acceptable to the people. So this is the reason why, as 5%ers in the Nation of Islam, we don't really get off on quoting all the time. Oh, the brother can quote his whole 120. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, he can quote word for word. I used to be so captivated by that when I first came into this nation, I got to say. When guards used to stand up there, who's the original man, the Asiatic black man, the making of only criminal, yo, who's the colored man, Yaku's grafted, and I used to be like, wow, man. It was no different from the preacher in the church. And God said, and Jesus said, and people hear that and they're like, wow. We think that's scholarship. We think that is intelligence. Even as 5%ers, Allah God came to make us scientists, which we are already scientists, but he came to make us back into supreme scientists. So we don't get off on quoting. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad already told us to stop getting off on quoting like that. Yeah, coming into the fold, yes, you're required to know them by heart. In our lessons, it says that. Master Fard Muhammad mentions that in our lessons. It says that we are to learn these lessons by heart. Look, lost, found. I don't know if y'all can see that. Lost, found, Muslim lesson number 2. And look what Master Fard Muhammad says. Look, this answer is answered very near correctly, and all students should read and study it until he or she can recite it by heart. By W.D. Fard. At the time, as the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us, was our prophet. And that's another whole bill as well. The messenger just was telling us that he was a prophet because he had to prepare us for the true reality of who that individual was. You see what I'm saying? So, this is part 1. We're going to come back with part 2 of this bill. I want to jump off into the student enrollment, and into the 1 to 36, and into the 1 to 14, and into the 1 to 40. We're going to chop through all of these lessons and get to the bottom of this thing today. Because, I mean, it's too much poison out there. Too much. Too much poison, man. Y'all got to stop it. Y'all got to stop with this poison. I don't normally do videos and be all over the internet unless, y'all know I do my rap battle stuff, and I'm into the music, and I'm into, other, philanthropical, things and stuff. But, y'all got to stop, man. So with that being said, family, this is just a little short lecture, short bill. I'm going to come back with part 2. Y'all stay tuned. Hit the subscribe button, the M.G.C network. Bashing falsehood out of these dudes' brains. Bashing their brains out. Falsehood. We got it's a brain, and we're going to bash it out, as the Holy Quran says. So with that being said, family, stay tuned for part 2. I'll leave you as I came in the greeting words of peace. We said in the Arabic language, Assalamu alaikum. Peace to the gods.